Greetings. Hello, beautiful. We've got our Houston in the house, DC in the house. Greetings, greetings, Queen. Ohio, Los Angeles, Jamaica, Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, Orlando, UK. Fantastic. So good to see you all. Chicago. Hello, goddess. So tell me, North Carolina, Houston, Tampa, Charlotte, South Florida, Florida, Sweden, San Antonio, Florida. Hello, baby. She says, hi, Madrina. Arizona. Blessing, Bea. Philadelphia. So we're just kind of giving people a few minutes to get in. We're going to give it maybe about another, what time is it now? Another 2 minutes. And we're going to start. We've got some spicy to talk about today. Nashville, San Diego, South Africa. I haven't been to South Africa in a few years. Love your videos. Thank you so much for the encouragement, guys and girls, pretty people. South Carolina, South Jersey, Iowa, New Orleans. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so tell me when is a good time to start.
We're at 1:23 right now. You can start whenever you want.
Trenton, New Jersey. Harlem, Tobago. Love you, love you, love you. I just found your channel. Fantastic. Stay a while. Miami. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm going to ring my bell. Ring my bell. Welcome to you all. Today with me, Elemi. So, for all of you who are first timers, welcome. And all of you guys who've been with me, guys and gals who've been with me for a while, welcome back. I'm Elemi from Yeyeo Botanica, and today we've got a great, fantastic, juicy topic that I want all of us to participate with. I want to hear from you. I want to get your point of view, hear what you have to say, share your comments. Remember, if you're enjoying my work, videos, the time and energy of dedication to share some information with you guys, always give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share us with others. And if you want to be in the know, like some of you guys are, definitely hit the bell for notifications. Today, thank you for the thumbs up. Today, our subject will be about why pay for spiritual work. You know, when I first got involved in traditional practices, I remember for many years I was going to these ladies that I would get readings from, and the first set of ladies, they did not speak any English whatsoever. I really wish I could have been smoking a cigar today. I really feel like I'm channeling spirit to be doing that. Anyway, so I realized that every time I went, I really didn't understand a lot of what was going on in the readings. I felt like, I'm going to take one moment. Can you look in there and see if there are any in there for me? Well, no. It's okay. I can't do it with this. Sorry, forgot about that. It's okay. Sorry. We're having a moment here. We're having like a get it together moment. So I remember I was going to people to get readings, and I really didn't understand maybe half of the reading because I spoke a different language. My Spanish is pretty good, but not good enough to understand when people were really like flowing with it, flowing with it. And I was like, what are they saying? What are they saying? I'm not really sure, not really sure. And so there's a translator there. Now, today, I have a translator for people who come for readings and they don't speak English, and I read them. So I used to do a lot of in-person readings pre-COVID, and hopefully we'll be getting back to those at some point. But right now I do phone readings. I tell people I'll read the rocks in the parking lot if you give me those to read. But this idea of why do I have to pay for something? So as an example, for a while I would have one of the ladies that work with me translate for people who were Spanish speakers or spoke Portuguese or something like that. And there was a small fee attached to that because that was a service, that is a service. And so the first thing that I want to say, and I had this also little tidbit. I remember someone had referred someone to me. It was a family friend, and the there was a phone call. We spoke on the phone. This lady had some very severe spiritual challenges, had some serious spiritual problems. And, after we spoke, after I read her, I said, this is kind of challenging, your situation, and there needs to be work done. So she was, oh, what do you mean there needs to be work done? I said, well, the problem that you're having, which was quite severe, she had a serious poltergeist with her that needed to be removed. And I said, kind of gave her the instructions. This was some years back. And she said to me, and it was really condescending. Like, I wanted to be like, psh, psh, psh. She goes, well, I heard that you're really good at what you do, but I don't really understand why you charge people. Hello. I said to her, I said, I really appreciate you giving that compliment. But I said, we don't know each other, right? So someone liked my little smack. So I thought to myself, I don't know you. Who's going to pay for all this stuff? Who's going to pay for the supplies? Who's going to pay for my supplies when I have to clean myself? What, it's just going to naturally just show up out of nowhere? So I like to say that people do need to use some level of discernment when it's time to get spiritual work done. But I also say that it depends on the person who's doing the work, right? Because different people are at different levels in their spiritual game, if you will, and in their spiritual experience. I know many spiritualists that will not take off poltergeist. They will not take off succubus. They will not take off really high level, high functioning dark energies. They'll do basic stuff. And then there are other people who only do basic things, but they don't do that kind of work. And so that kind of work is very specialized, as an example. So I wanted to go through just some thoughts to keep in mind for those of you who've been in a situation to be offered, hey, to pay for spiritual work, or to maybe even guide someone on that. Because once in a while, people have friends that they may suggest, hey, why don't you get this done? Or someone will come for job, life, legal, so on. So we're going to go through a little bit of that. We're not going to be long today, but I thought this was juicy because I haven't seen a video on this subject at all. If you guys have, please comment below. Send me that video. I'd love to hear what other spiritualists say. So the first thing is, there's a difference between charity and a spiritual service, or them coupled together, right? Oh my, I just saw that come on the screen. Did you see that message that she said about her daughter?
Mm-hmm.
I want to read that afterwards, please. Make a note of that. Um, so As a person who's been doing this kind of work for many years, way over 20 years, there's a difference between charity work and spiritual service, right? And for me, I do, and I have done charity work in ways that I could not begin to even translate into words. I've done so much charity. I mean, I do charity work all the time. Someone sees me, they ask me a question, they need something. The Botanica does a lot of philanthropic work in the community. We support different organizations. We put on events. In homeless shelters. I've taken the Christmas to different shelters, so on and so forth. So charity work is just a part of what I do. I have Oshon as my main Arisha, and Oshun is the Arisha of charity. Speaks for itself. But the name of the Botanica is Yeyeo, again. So if someone is saying, I'm doing this for you without you soliciting it, or you saying, hey, I need some help. I'm not able to afford this right now. I'm really down and out. Times are really tough. And this person comes forward and says, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to gift this to you. That's charity, right? They're not asking for anything in return. They're just doing it out of humanity. Thumbs up, right? However, if I solicit someone, why? Because I have someone who takes care of me. I'm very blessed. And my godfather, Ibaye, who's now deceased, Obebara, my godfather in Ifa, he passed on this year. So missed, but he has taken such beautiful care of me over the years. But I also give him his offering. So in the regular world, we call it paying. In the spiritual world, we call it a donation, right? And so I want to continue with that conversation a little bit because when we go to church, we call it a donation, a synagogue, a mosque, some spiritual place. We call it a donation, right? But in the regular world, we call it paying. Well, in the Botanica, people pay for supplies, right? But in all actuality, in a spiritual sense, it's really a donation as it pertains to readings, not products, right? So the Spirit wants us to see us invest in ourselves, right? They want to see us invest in ourselves. So if we want to manifest a change and people go, this is why it's called work, right? We're working on our own behalf. We're working for ourselves. We're working for our family, working for our community, right? So when you go to work, you expect to get paid, right? And so if the person is working on your behalf, the Spirit is working on your behalf, they expect to get something in return. In Voodoo, it is very much a part of the Spirit seeing people putting down money, putting down something to say, I brought my sweat. This is a part of my self that I'm giving, right? So we're going to get into that a little bit more, right? So different types of things that people pay for in spirituality, right? People pay for card readings, tarot card readings, astrological readings, birth charts, intuitive readings, intuitive communication with spirits, contacting ancestors and so on, spiritual circles, divination. If a person goes for an Ifa reading with a Babalao, a Dilogun reading with a priest like myself, Congo reading, bones, palm readings, tea leaves, list goes on and on, types of readings, right? But readings fall in the category of work as much as we don't really think about it that way. But the person who's reading you, they're working. We're on the receiving end, but that person's really working, or they're supposed to be, right? Ebo, it's called Ebo. EBO in the Yoruba faith really refers to sacrifice, some kind of sacrificing for yourself or of yourself, right? So by you going to work, don't work, no pay, right? No love, no get love. Right? So again, something has to happen in order to receive something. And in the Yoruba faith, the Orisha views that the person gives of themselves. Even when a person takes a spiritual bath, they're giving of themselves in some way. They're taking some of their energy, some of their ashe, some of their own power to get this lift, right? To get this transformation of a particular situation. If when a person receives a spiritual cleansing, a part of the sacrifice of money, of time, of energy, of sweat, of getting the supplies together, following the instructions, whatever it is, that's what they're giving of themselves in order to manifest a change. And if someone is doing the spiritual cleansing to them, well, what do they get in the end, right? One person gets this great upliftment, but what does the other person get, right? And so we know that the world is a circle, right? Sun comes up, it rains, seeds are planted, sun comes up, it rains, fruit grows, and over and over. Even in nature, there is a give and take, right? From the earth to the animals to the elements. So why is humanity really any different? And so a lot of times people think, oh, this person's trying to get over on me. They're trying to scam me. If they had such a good gift, then why aren't they just doing it for free? Let's continue, right? So I gave you some ideas of the different types of work that people do. What does that look like? Yes, people get work done for health, for money, for love, for professional advancement, and so on, right? So there are all different ways that spiritual work looks like: spiritual baths, spiritual cleansings, candle work, any manifestation work, affirmation work, coupled with those things, still around the idea of work, right? So if you're hesitant, let's say that you go to read and someone says, well, whatever it is your issue is, this is how much it's going to cost in order for them to help to manifest that change or to help you, right? If you're hesitant, here are some things to keep in mind. You're free to ask for a reference. If the person's legit, ask for a reference or find some way, unless they were referred to you, unless you've seen their work with other people or in some way, find some way to validate that this person is real. That is not 100% foolproof, because I've seen people who have been out there who have done things that are a little bit slippery, right? We can't control that. We can only control some of the circumstances that can bring you a little bit more comfort, right? So one of those would be, if you can get references or check out the person, right? You can shop around. Um, if you feel very cautious, like something is hesitant, once in a while I read people and the spirit will tell them, oh, you have this problem. And they go, oh, yeah, people have told me that in the past. Huh? People have told you that in the past? Did they tell you how to fix it? That's my first question every time. They tell you how to fix it? And so they'll be like, no, 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 or yeah, I kind of knew it was like that, but I didn't really do anything. Here's a tidbit on the side. This is just me and you. This is just me and you. Well, let me sharing a little piece with you guys. If someone tells you there's a particular problem and you hear it again, and maybe even hear it 3 times, it's time to stop ignoring it. Why? Because problem says blockage. Problem says something's trying to hold me back. Something's trying to hold me down from moving forward, right? So by people telling you this thing and you're not taking action, all you're doing is making this thing weigh you down even more, right? So I implore you, if you've had a few readings, people telling you the same thing over and over in different ways, take action. Bring it up. Bring up your power to take action. Why? Because negativity's job is to keep you negative. Negativity's job is to keep you negative and to keep you back. So you got to break through that, right? So As I mentioned before, ask for references if you feel that you need to do that, or at least find out, is this person verifiable? Are they real? Do other people know who they are, right? Shopping around. If you don't feel comfortable, get another reading. See if maybe you can investigate this same situation, right? Whether you can find out about people, whether it be that they have different ordinations, did they go to school, who did they learn with, have they taken classes, blah, blah, blah. But I want to say that is not a barometer for whether or not the person still knows what they're doing. Why? Because there are a lot of people out there who have a lot of things under their name, but they can't take off a poltergeist. Or they can't do this or they can't do that, but they may be able to do a lot of things. They may be able to transform your life in a lot of ways. But when it comes to heavy magic, that may not be their thing, right? That's not for everyone. So every spiritualist and every diviner who does work on people's behalf has their specialized area or areas, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. You can always ask someone, oh, is that really the thing that you do a lot? Or what do you really like to do more? Doesn't make one wrong or right, just different types of experience, different types of skills, right? There's some doctors that are specialists. They're a specialist. They're about the business of what they do. A brain surgeon is not into working on your teeth, right? They're into brain surgery. So similarly, so in spirituality, there's some people who are much more specialized than others, something to keep in mind, which I think a lot of people really don't really know going into the spiritual world, and definitely dealing with different types of readers, different type of diviners, right? And it's good to understand that different spiritualists fall in different categories, because some people have ordination and some reading systems do not require ordination, like reading cards and so on and so forth. Spiritual readings, all right? So we got a few more points to cover, and then I want to hear you guys' questions. So why pay for spiritual work? The juiciest part of this reading, and why I pay for spiritual work. The first reason is why I pay for spiritual work is because it's a service. It's not charity. I went asking for something. They didn't come looking for me, right? So in that case, it's a service. If they choose to add some charity to it, oh, I'm blessed for that, but it's still a service, and whatever it is that they charge for their service. As an example, when you go to a doctor, well, unless you're in a third world country in a place where all the doctors went to give some charity medical care, if you're up here in the United States or in your country, in the city, that's a service. And so insurance, money, some way to pay for that service, right? A person who goes for a Reiki attunement, they pay for that service. A chakra alignment, they pay for that service. Going to get a massage, paying for that service. A class, same thing, right? So a spiritual diviner or reader is no different. What should you know about what to think about before you go in? Well, the more aligned you are with what it is that you want to know in terms of getting help, it's the easier it is that the person can say, I offer this, 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 and this to you, right? So the other thing is that one of the reasons why I also pay is, well, if I want the person to give me 100%, then I need to be willing to pay them for their service, right? I love it when people go, hey, can you help me? Can you do this? We all have friends that are like, oh, can you hook me up? Can you do this? Can you do that? And so we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then if after a while it starts getting tiring, what happens? People fall off. People like disappear. Nobody's calling back. They're like, yeah, 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 no, I don't really have time to do that, whatever. And so the person's like, oh man, nobody's helping me. Well, you didn't offer anything. You didn't offer to give them a meal. You didn't offer to give them a drive. So people want to receive something for their energy, right? Also, the biggest part is this is an investment in yourself. This is a true investment in yourself. I want to just ask a quick question because I've got three more points and then we're going to take some questions. Can you guys hear me really clearly? Let's see. Thank you. Can everyone hear me pretty clearly? C. Perfect. Okay. So this is an investment in yourself if you want to manifest a change. Loud and clear. Okay, very good. So third off, the fifth reason is, well, who's going to pay for the lights? If you go into a place and it is an official business or place, it could even be the person's home, and this is where they work from. Well, they're working on your behalf. Who's going to pay for the lights? Who's going to pay for the heat? Who's going to pay to give you the glass of water when you're sitting there, right? So again, it's a service. This is what the person does. They're entitled to being compensated for their ashe, for their energy, for their power that they are sharing with you to help to manifest a change in your life should you go to get spiritual work. Like tithing in the church, right? We tithe in the church. Well, tithes is to make sure that the church, the lights are on, make sure that the heat is on, make sure that the church is maintained, that the minister, the pastor has some offering for themselves to compensate them. No different, right? Um, I'm just reading some of my little notes and make sure that I don't forget. It says I have here written, who covers your expenses? Same thing as I mentioned to you before. So prices. This is a great part before we have one more or two more before we wrap up. One is prices and then another one. So now prices range. For spiritual work, I have heard things that were so reasonable, and I've heard things that were just like, really bad, really expensive, and I'm like, wow, right? People are entitled to charge whatever they want because you could be dealing with someone who's extremely advanced. They're an expert in their field. I'm an expert in my field, right? But it can range from people who've started, who are in the middle, who are advanced, and people who are experts, right? You're going to pay based a little bit more based on a person's level of expertise and the type of work that they're going to do on your behalf. And so that's really something to keep in mind. Um, just remember, it's like going to a surgeon. And I mentioned this before, or going to college or going to school or something like that, depending on the level, depending on what it costs. Some schools provide financial aid, some schools don't, right? Some schools are in more affluent neighborhoods, some are not. Again, it all depends on where you go, but people are entitled to charge what they want. Whether or not it's for you to pay, that's for you to decide, right? And the last reason why I pay for spiritual work is because I want to honor their ashe. I want to honor their gift because I want them to use that gift on my behalf. I want them to be like, yo, Elemi showing up today. I'm all in to get her work done, right? Versus, oh, well, they didn't even leave a little offering or anything. I'm going to just do it with a little bit. No, I don't want that. I want them to be enthusiastic about me coming to get some work done. So I share with you guys, here are some reasons to pay for spiritual work in terms of why I pay for spiritual work. And hopefully this will be helpful to you in the future when you go to solicit getting some spiritual work for yourself. These are some tools to think about. And just as a quick thing, not to belabor this live, but remember I said it's a service. You want them to give you 100% of themselves. It's an investment in yourself. It's a maintenance of the space. It's a covering of your expenses. People can charge whatever they want, and it's honoring the divinity that is within them, right? So please keep these things in mind. So do we have any other questions that are good questions or good comments that people may have that I can answer? Do I say the person's name or just say
Up
the
to you.
question? Um, okay,
Those aren't questions.
let me get to the questions that have to do with,
Those aren't questions, that's questions.
say this one.
If you want.
Well, one says, why is Oshun your favorite Orisha? Well, I'm ordained as an Oshun priestess, right? And Oshun and I have had ordination in a very intimate way for the last 20 years or 20 plus years. So Oshun has transformed my life. If it wasn't for Oshun, I wouldn't have this business. If it wasn't for Oshun, I wouldn't have my name. If it wasn't for Oshun, I wouldn't be alive. And so for those are just three juicy reasons as to why she's my favorite Orisha. In my house, other people have Oshun. So Oshun is in my life all the time, 24/7, everywhere I go. So of course she's my favorite, right? So we have a person who I just saw this coming across the screen and it really just kind of just pulled at me. It says here, I'm not going to say her name because I'm really not sure if she's comfortable with me saying her name, even though it was on the thread. I'm not going to say her name. If she's still watching, she knows who she is. It says, my daughter's being molested by her father. Do you have a book I could buy? I've been trying to save her. She needs a lot more than a book. Respectfully, if you know that your child is being molested by the father, I don't know enough about whether or not you live with the father or if you don't live with the father. Exactly. Someone just said that. Call the police. That was spam, beloved. Someone said. Okay, so if it was spam, then we're going to toss that out as spam. But if it was not spam, because I had an experience some years back where a lady had three daughters, and one of her daughters was being molested and had a child for the father. And so I would just say to people, if you know something is not right in your household and in your family, and you stand by with a blind eye and not take revolutionary change to be uncomfortable, to put it out there, to save someone. Why? Because by taking that action is saving this young lady so that in her future as an adult, she does not make some really horrible decisions for herself. I would say then, shame on the family who is not doing revolutionary things to save anyone who's being harmed. But I'm not here to judge you or judge anybody else. I would just say that we passed a book, right? We passed a book. There's a lot more things that needs to be happening at this point, that I know that whoever put that post, they know what the answer is. So good luck with that. I want to go to two questions before we close. How do you know if you're paying too much? Like I said before, I would check around. I would definitely see what the going price is for that type of work. But I want to share with you, remember what I said before, this is based on ordination. Is the person ordained? Is this their forte? Is this something that they really do a lot? Are they very experienced in doing it, and so on and so forth. And then you can always ask other people, but there's certain things that maybe that person's never even heard of, and they're like, oh, well, I don't know how much you pay for that. I would have to say that, and so I want to speak from my position. I don't penny pinch people when it's time to do work for me. I don't, and I never have, no matter how young I was in the tradition or at the age that I am now. I don't penny pinch people when it comes to spirituality because I believe there's an investment in myself. And if I'm not willing to invest in myself, then why should someone else? So, but I would say that ask around and definitely sit with it, sit with it and not put yourself in a situation where you can't pay for your rent, you can't pay for your car, you can't pay for um, things that are necessities in your life in order to take care of your spirituality. If you need to save a little money this month and save a little money next month, and then 3 months down the road, then you have the money to do it, then do so, right? How much should you charge? I have no idea about that question because I don't know what this is about, but I think I may have answered that question directly in the last one. It says, advice for those who want to start providing spiritual services. Ooh, 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 ooh. So, I love you guys who are starting out doing your spiritual work and wanting to get in the spiritual services business. I'm going to tell you what I've told a few people that I know. Make sure you know what you're charging people. Why? Because there are times where people are just starting. They're just starting. Their intuitive self is not totally kicked in where they can just rattle down information from spirit and so on. And they want to charge what the pros charge. You need to know what you're charging based on where you are in your journey, in your learning, and in your skills. Why? Because if you're going to charge a lot of money, people are going to expect some service, right? So in the Botanica, I charge one amount because my store is in Newark, and I want to really make sure that people have access to my services. However, when I travel, when I do some higher level work, I charge more. So I would say you need to be clear about what you're charging based on your skills. All right, so that would be the answer that I would say for that. Um, but I wish you a lot of luck in providing spiritual services. You know, I wish you luck in this road. This is a fantastic field to be in. It is a field that I was called to be in. If you're a person that you're just wanting to do it because it seems really in, I guarantee you, in doesn't last. And when people start having major problems, it can start to take a toll on you if you're not 100%, 200% in your heart really wanting to do spiritual services work. Do I have any more questions before we close? You need to go through initiation. You guys are too much. Put my glasses on so I can see. Are you a godmother? Yes, I am. I'm a godmother of a lot of people. Children, adults, teenagers, men, women. Can a spirit? Oh, here's a hot question that I've just got while we're wrapping up. It says, can a spirit come back after being removed? Yes, it can, depending on the type of spirit and depending on whether or not there was maintenance work. Oftentimes, people are given maintenance work to do after getting work done. So. Spirits can come back, but that's this very small percentage of spirits that can come back. But I want to just say one thing, and maybe if you guys would like me to do a live or on negative spirits or dark spirits, I'd love to do that to kind of talk a little bit about how they work, because sometimes people are a little bit unclear. If you're thinking the same way you were thinking when the spirit was removed, you're going to call it back. So I would say try to change your way of thinking, right? If you were kind of leaning to a negative mindset, or was not being as optimistic, you want to change your way of thinking, and you maybe even need to change up the way you dress a little bit so that the spirit, when looking for you, is not able to find you. Your aura is not the same. And definitely stay on top of taking spiritual baths to block that and keep that away. That was something about the lemons. I went by very quickly. All right, here's another question. How do you know when to take a spiritual bath? When it comes to your mind. The moment that it comes to your mind, bam! Is that one of my guides telling me? Time to go take a spiritual bath, right? Spiritual baths are for cleansing, for taking away, for drawing in, for neutralizing. So the moment that it came to your mind, get to it. Can a person be a portal to the spiritual realm? You're already a portal. All of us are portals. So the answer to that is absolutely. And we're going to take maybe one or two more questions, and then we're going to close. Someone curse. What does that say? How do you know when it's okay to work with Arisha? Well, if a person subscribes to the Yoruba ideology, Orisha's already in your body, right? Orisha's already in your consciousness. And I actually have a video talking about that, but um, I think I may need to kind of delve into that a little bit more. And if people would like me to delve into that a little bit more about Arisha being in the body, definitely comment so we can keep track of that. But I would have to say that one, a person can have an Orisha reading where their Alegba speaks to them, the Orisha Alegba speaks to them directly. Two, you may be having insights, dreams, Orisha coming to you in physical form, different things like that. So those are some of the hints, but I would definitely say you'd have to see whether or not that's for you. If you feel heavily drawn to it, that's also a reason. That's a calling, right? Sometimes it's in people's DNA, and so on and so forth. What did it say about the advice with the lemons?
I said thank you.
Oh, some of you guys have been having some results from doing some of these jobs, these works that I've given you guys in the video. So thank you so much for sending the comments, sending your positive results that you've been having. I really appreciate all of the support. Love and blessings to all of you, to your family, your loved ones. Stay safe, stay well. Thanks for sitting in with me for the last 40 minutes. Normally my videos are 10 minutes, so it was fantastic to have you guys with me. So appreciate you. Remember to continue to support our channel, support this work, because not a lot of us are out here doing this work, and we have a lot of you guys to share this beautiful, beautiful blessing with, the blessing of Ashe, the blessing of messages, the blessings of messages from Spirit to help, to guide, and enrich all of our lives. So thank you for your support. Continue to send me your comments. Give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe and share us with others. And if you want to be in the know, definitely hit the bell for notifications. And see you next time. Ashe, ashe, ashe.